MarkCarney's butt kissing got us nowhere, and Chris and Tamara are on house arrest. Welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie A.B. This is where we debrief and discuss pop culture and politics from an independent perspective. And if that interests you, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share this with your friends because it's hard to get my name out in Commie Canada. Let's get into it.
Mr. President, if I may, you kindly hosted me and some of my colleagues a few months ago, and I said at the time, you are a transformative president. And since then, the transformation in the economy, unprecedented commitments of NATO partners to defense spending, peace from India, Pakistan through to Azerbaijan, Armenia, disabling Iran as a force of terror, and now, and I'm running out of time, but this is in many respects the most important.
The merger of Canada and the United States.
All that butt kissing and no deal. No deal was made. And I just want to let you guys know something, that now that I have Twitter, X, whatever we want to call it, I want you guys to know that I don't think there's a lot of people showing their true emotions and true sentiment, or I think there's a lot of bots on there. I think that rage baiting works on Twitter and makes you rage bait, honestly. I've said that before and I'll say it again. And I don't think the sentiment is what's on Twitter. I would implore you guys to go and look at what lefties are saying on TikTok or YouTube, because most are not happy about this. Most do not like this butt kissing of Trump, okay? No matter what all of the talking heads on Twitter say, I want you guys to understand something, and this gives me hope, okay? I don't know if it gives you guys some hope, but it gives me hope. I mean, not when I think about who the NDP potential leader will be. I digress. But it gives me hope that they do see through MarkCarney. As soon as that Project 2025 thing happened, where he invited that guy to a meeting and, you know, was all secretive about it, they have not forgiven him for that. They could get past a lot, but the Project 2025 is where they drew the line, and they no longer support him. So I know that all of left-leaning TikTok is definitely not for MarkCarney. There's this one guy who kind of is his personal cheerleader, okay? I would say the only thing he's ever called him out for is what's going on with chips and hummus, as Moose on the Loose would say, you know what I mean? But other than that, the pro-Carney bots, you know, people are kind of seeing through it. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. Okay, and then we're going to talk about this. No, sorry. First, we're going to point out the hypocrisy by the media here, because can you imagine the headlines today if PierrePoilievre went to the White House and said that to Donald Trump? Donald Trump and Carney genuinely seem like friends. I mean, Trump helped Carney get in. And here's the thing. I know what Trump is doing is good for Americans, okay? What Trump is doing and the tariffs, I understand the concept of it. However, to congratulate Donald Trump on taking our business away from us because Donald Trump is actually making sure that businesses can invest in America, while MarkCarney does the complete opposite. Okay, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Okay, I think that my favorite conspiracy theory ever is that Alberta is actually the Holy Land, okay? Because for some reason we don't want to touch Canada, or I said this to Marty up north the other day, they are waiting until no workers know their rights and they can exploit people. Because here's the thing, Brookfield has been caught exploiting workers in Brazil, indigenous workers specifically in Brazil, okay? Why is he so okay? I won't get into it, but you know what I'm saying here. And not only that, the fact that every time we don't get a deal, 91% of MarkCarney shares benefit from the no deal being had. Moose on the Loose is right. Pierre needs to call that out immediately, okay? And you know what? You could use, and I understand not stooping to the liberals' lows, but there are so many videos of them giggling. There should be hilarious yet true commercials where it's like MarkCarney and Donald Trump's picture go black and white and it says, look who's BFF now. Something like that. Guys, you have so much material here. Let's get on it. You should have been on it yesterday.
Bobby Newport's never had a real job in his life.
Bobby Newport's never had a real job in his life.
Bobby Newport. Bobby Newport.
Bobby Newport.
This is what we need. This is what we need, okay? This behavior, this is what we need from the conservatives. So let's get on it, okay? Chop, chop. And then Trump said this.
We have no men and women's sports. Basic things. We're not going to take your child away and change the sex of your child. We're not going to do things like that. What they're doing to the country is so incredible. And they got away with it with all their woke crap, and now it's stopped.
LOL, his face. MarkCarney's face just looking down at the floor because his child is transgender. And I will say this. If there's one thing that I appreciate and respect about MarkCarney, there's not a lot. There's truly not a lot. But the fact that he doesn't use his child as bait for the woke left makes me extremely proud of him. Honestly, because that could have got him so many brownie points, and he didn't use it in his campaign. So I will just say props to Carney. But the fact that he didn't stick up for his kid here, that's no surprise to any of us, okay? And the people on Twitter will send out the sentiment, oh, MarkCarney's he just has to sit there to protect Canadians. I seen that Mike guy say that with all of the flags in his bio. Like, give me a break. How much butt kissing can you do? Because genuinely, if PierrePoilievre sat there while Donald Trump said this, they would have said it was a hate crime. They would have said, I'm not even kidding when I say that. That's not even an exaggeration. Overall, this makes us this is embarrassing. Once again, we do not have a strong leader that actually defines us as a nation. Okay, MarkCarney doesn't even know what it's like to be Canadian because he's not even Canadian. Since he's been prime minister, has his focus been on staying in Canada and fixing the problems? Absolutely not. Has his focus been going from country to country and absolutely doing nothing? Yeah. And once again, we're seeing that again. Okay, so they can only, the news can only cover for MarkCarney, and these bots can cover for MarkCarney for so long before, I'm telling you, they were already sick of him in July, and by now they want him gone. There is no hesitation when I say that the majority of the left-leaning audience that I watch, I would say 96% of them to 98% do not like MarkCarney, do not want him to come in, and they want NDP to get their leadership race going because they want MarkCarney. They know he's a billionaire. They've figured it out. They've realized it, especially with C8 and how the government treated them during the election. I would say the NDP screwed over its voter base, and they know what's coming for them if this bill goes through. Okay, so we have people on the left waking up now. Are they putting all of their whatever the saying is, into a hat about this socialist? Yes, they are. However, getting rid of MarkCarney and not having him as our prime minister is my top concern right now. So anyways, let's talk about Chris and Tamara because, oh, Canada, I'm just so unbelievably disappointed in what we call freedom here. So Chris and Tamara were sentenced to house arrest and 100 hours of community service, which is probably more than some of the rapists get in Canada, by the way. This no jail thing, yeah, they better have not gotten jail because I know they knew the vibe of what would have happened if they got jail. We would have been protesting. Okay, if they got jail and they took away Chris's truck, that would not have been good for the state of Canada, and I think that judge knew that, so this is why they got this. And not only that, the precedent of being able to schmurder and grape people in Canada and get away with it, but protesting for your bodily autonomy somehow gets you in jail. Sure. And I just want to say to all the left-leaning people in Canada who still think the Freedom Convoy was a bad thing, okay, what are you thinking? even if it was a bad thing, how are you ignoring all of the blatant attacks on the Jewish community right now? You guys call us Yahtzee, and yet you ignore the fact that there was a real life Yahtzee in the House of Commons, okay? And then you pretend that you care about these things when you go to call people that. You don't actually even care about these things because you don't care that we're actually seeing attacks on Jewish communities right now. If you cared and you actually believe people were anti-Semitic that went to the convoy, you would have cared about those other things, if not more, because that was a real life Yahtzee in the House of Commons, okay? Second, I was on the left. I did all of their bidding, okay? I went to BLM. I have been talking about BLM since 2016. I took my kid to Pride, okay? I'm, as this is happening to all my close friends and family and people that know me in the area, I'm telling them my experience. So I'm saying, hey, public health is shutting down my school, and guess what? Guess what else? Oh, they told me that I was being monitored. They see that my grandma has died. You know, I'm watching my grandma die a slow, painful death. I am talking about this as I am going through this all, okay? As I support Every Child Matters, as I support BLM, as I support all of the crap that they are telling us to do. When I said that and by the way, these people knew that I passed out in Shoppers after my second you-know-what, okay? And after doing all of their bidding and being one of the only people who actually didn't just talk about these things on Instagram, but actually went to the protests, these people had the nerve to call me a white supremacist, say that I'm going to the convoy because I'm a white supremacist, all of these different things. You guys have got to be kidding me. If this was one thing to stand on, being pro-choice, I'm going to, especially when this affected me. If there was one thing that deeply affected me, it was all of the mandates that happened because of COVID, okay? And I remember feeling, my grandma had just died in November, and I remember feeling so much hope when I would watch Chris, okay, me and Chris are mutuals on TikTok, and I had been following him since day one. Every time someone would call me a white supremacist, I would say, look, I've been watching his live streams. This is what he is actually saying, and I am not believing a single thing the media is telling us after they've lied to us for the last 2 years. I am not putting up with this anymore, and they still relentlessly told me that I was wrong for supporting this. And if you think that the trucks getting there and honking for the first day is bad, once again, begging you to go to Kareem Assad's, I'm going to link it in the bio, and go watch her feed of the amount of left-leaning people who attack her with noise, like these noise weapons. I don't even know what they are. I didn't even know that they exist, okay? There's like these whistles that give off the sound that genuinely is a weapon and it hurts your brain, okay? Not only that, they physically attack her cameraman, okay? I watched someone be arrested the other day because they assaulted her on the left. The amount of attacks on Jewish communities, the amount of attacks on Christian churches, okay? Burning our flag, saying death to Canada. You would think that all of the things that I just described to you was the Freedom Convoy, by the way that CTV and CBC reported on it, and then I would watch people's live streams. And this is why I started watching the Pleb. This is why I started watching everybody who was there who was live streaming, because I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe the stark contrast between what CBC was showing me and what I was seeing in real life time, okay, as people like the Pleb are going live. It was the most peaceful protest I have ever seen in my life. And yes, of course the horns are going to be annoying, but they genuinely only did that for the first day and then they stopped. The rest, like obviously, yes, horns did honk sometimes. However, there was bouncy castles. It was on. I do not know how people can even say that this is wrong when the amount of violence I have seen since October 7th has been astronomical, and the left seems to not only cheer it on, but join them. What do they know what they are saying when they say from the river to the, you know what? Like, do they know? I don't know. I don't know. These are the same people who stand up for a country, which, by the way, I can do this too. I can say that I don't want to see any civilians being hurt. But these people don't say that. They say that Charlie Kirk deserves to be unalived for his views because his words are violence, okay? But you actually are not even allowed to be gay in the country over there, you know, the queers for you know what. But somehow they can find it in their hearts to have empathy for them, but not for their fellow countrymen. I don't know. Genuinely, guys, sometimes I think, was the internet really good for us to have? Because I don't really know. I don't know at this point. Because for the left to ignore all of that and still continue, and this is not just left-leaning Twitter either. These are people who are left-leaning creators on TikTok. They continuously say that this is what is deserved of Chris and Tamara. And I just want to say, shame on you. Because we were protesting our bodily autonomy. And for some reason, you guys are so bothered by that. Maybe you should be demanding more from your manufacturers that rely on other people getting a medication for yours to work. Have you ever thought about that? Instead of demanding us to take something we don't want to take, demand more from your manufacturers. That's capitalism. And I hope it means that Canadians will be willing to stand up for our freedom in this country again, now that they have their sentencing done, because the only reason why I stopped, I wanted a protest during the proroguing of the government because I knew that what was going to happen was not going to be good for us. And I hope that Canadians feel the freedom to stand up for themselves again. Even when I went to the Million Man March, I was genuinely scared of being charged for some sort of hate crime, despite being part of the community myself and being there because I'm concerned about what they're doing to the LGBT community and using them as a pawn in their little scheme, okay, of division. And still, I was worried about being charged with some sort of hate crime because that's just what living in Canada is like. So I really hope that Canadians get the courage again soon to stand up and say no to the government, okay? I'm so sick and tired of them stealing and embezzling all of our money and just watching my husband's paycheck go absolutely nowhere as groceries cost more and more and more and more. I can't stomach it anymore. I'm sick and tired of it. And I'm sick and tired of them walking all over our freedoms because guess what, lefties? This will bite you guys in the butt too. So tell me what you guys think, because I don't think that they should have even been charged in the first place for the most peaceful protests and diverse, unironically, by the way, protests that I have seen. So I will see you guys in the next one. I hope you're having a great day.